Wall Street snapped 5-day gaining streak to end Monday's session lower. Worries of persistent inflation, elevated valuations and return on artificial intelligence spending weigh on investors. Dow falls more than 400 points and Nasdaq sheds 90 points. Crypto stocks fell following a 6% drop in the prices of Bitcoin. Asia-Pacific market opened higher after Wall Street declines on crypto sell-off. The GIFT Nifty is indicating a flat start for the Indian market. Crude prices rise over 1% after OPEC Plus reaffirmed its decision to suspend production increases during the first quarter of next year. Meanwhile, gold touches a 6-week high as rate cut bets weigh on dollar. CNBC TV 18 Newsbreak confirmed government to divest 5% stake in Bank of Maharashtra via an OFS and to sell 1% stake via green shoe option. The floor price is set at 54 rupees per share at a discount to the current market price. And Bajaj Housing Finance in focus after promoter Bajaj Finance plans to sell up to 2% stake of its stake in the block deal today of nearly rupees 1,700 crores. The deal is likely to happen at 9.6% discount to the previous close at rupees 95 per share. Hello, good morning. You've tuned into Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. I'm Vinny Motiwala. Thank you so much for tuning in as always. Now, yesterday we didn't end the trading session on that record high level that we saw at the starting. We managed to close off at a very muted day in terms of a move that we saw coming in for the Indian markets. What happened to Dow? They saw a sharp fall coming in. Today, Asian markets have opened up on the positive note. And despite that sell-off that we saw on Wall Street, look at the Taiwan index managing to hold on to gains of 1.23%. We have Hang Seng holding on to gains of around 0.6% as well. So overall, what we're seeing is a bit of a positive move that has come in for the Asian markets. Nifty implied open. Let's pull that up. A bit of a flattish start is what we're keeping an eye on, just 0.30%. So we closed almost muted. Start for the Indian markets today is indicating a muted start as well. We'll watch out for, how everything paves out during the day as well. As of now, a flat start for the Indian markets. But let's talk about the global market action, right? A lot of that happened, and those overnight cues now will impact our Indian markets. We have a team of research here to set you up for trade, tell you which are the important stocks to watch out for in the trading session as well. First up, let's go across to Hormaz, who's here to tell us the important cues that we're keeping an eye out on today. Good morning, Hormaz.
Good morning, Vinny. It's a muted start because you're awaiting a lot of things to transpire as well. But the bulls will definitely be disappointed. We were expected to open gap up yesterday. We did open gap up. We hit a record high, but then we could not sustain at those levels. Same is the story for the Nifty Bank as well. We're talking about that 60,000 mark. 60,000 did come. 6,100 also came. But then again, there was a cool off from those levels. The Nifty was down 150 points from the highs. The Nifty Bank was down almost 450 points from the highs. And the biggest factor as to why the markets could not sustain at those higher levels turned out to be the rupee. And it was the second such move in the last 1 week where you saw one-way move downwards for the currency. Although from those intraday lows of around 89.67, 89.70, the currency did manage to claw back some of those losses and ended at around 89.5. But that remains to be the key monitorable. Even in today's trading session, we've had experts telling us that 90 against the dollar is going to be a very important psychological level for the currency. So that remains a key monitorable. The other key monitorable is the advanced decline. Barring a couple of sessions last week, the advanced decline continues to remain adverse. Yesterday was no different. We opened with a very yawning gap in favor of the gainers, but then by the close, that yawning gap had turned in favor of the declines. Those 1,700 stocks ending lower. That broader market pain continues to persist. That needs to be watched out for. If there is a positive from yesterday's session, if you would want to call it that, both the Nifty and the Nifty Bank ended and managed to hold on to their support levels. The Nifty 26,100, 26,150, it held out on that. The Nifty Bank too held out above the 59,500 mark. That remains the very important level for the Nifty Bank to watch out for. On the upside, of course, 60,000 remains the first level, and then of course the new record high. Today's session, we react to the IIP figures and the CAD data. Of course, auto sales, the remaining ones, of course, particularly from Hero MotoCorp, that you need to watch out for. The insurance amendment bill, if it gets tabled in Parliament, that's an important thing to watch out for. Watch out for pharma stocks in particular. There are a lot of developments because of the tariff deal announced between the US and the UK. and a lot of others as well with regards to the GLP-1. So keep pharma stocks on your radar, and of course the currency, as we mentioned, if there is any further depreciation there. But for now, since there are a lot of monitorables to watch out for, the GIFT Nifty is absolutely on the flat line. It's of course the weekly expiry as well of the NSE contracts, so brace for some volatility in today's session.
Okay, bracing for some volatility in today's trading session. Thanks so much for that, Hormaz. But let's move on and talk about stocks that you should be keeping on your radar. Over to Upasna. Good morning, Upasna.
Good morning, Vinny. Well, first up, let me start with Bank of Maharashtra. The government to divest 5% stake in the company via OFS, and the floor price is set around rupees 54 per share. Next up is HUL. Board appoints Vandana Suri as the ED of Home Care India with effect from 1st of Jan 2026. Next up is KEI Industries. Company starts trial production at its Sanand facility in Gujarat, and the commercial production at the new unit is expected to start from 10th of December 2025. Next up is NMDC. On the back of its November update, the total iron ore production is up about 11% on a one-year basis, and total sales has seen a growth of about 4.3%. Hero MotoCorp is in focus on the back of November sales. Total sales up 31% on a one-year basis versus the expectation of 29%. Ambuja Cement company commissions 4 MTPA brownfield expansion of clinker unit in Chhattisgarh. Next up is Bharat Dynamics. On the back of order win, the company secures additional orders worth 2,462 crores from the Indian Army. Next up is Raymond Realty. The company announces expansion into Mumbai metropolitan region, and the company says that it has an unlocking revenue potential of over 2,000 crores. And lastly, coming to Bajaj Housing Finance, on the back of the block deal, according to sources, Bajaj Finance is likely to sell 2% equity in the company. So we'll be watching out for all these stocks in our today's trading session.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Upasna. But finally, let's go across to Sudarshan, who's here to tell us what to watch out for in the world of F&O. Good morning, Sudarshan. Nifty expiry, Hormaz said volatility, but what are we keeping an eye out in terms of levels and individual F&O stocks?
Good morning, Vinny. So it's almost zero action if you look at the entire F&O data. At the index level, you are seeing that whenever we try to hit the record highs, we do see the selling pressure. And yesterday also that we saw Nifty once it crossed previous highs, and after that it saw a sharp fall. And it was same for the majority of the indices. It was same for mid-cap index. It was same for Nifty Bank. So today, global cues remain subdued. Now, if you take a look at the flows, yesterday also in the index futures, we have seen just 107 crore of buying, and they have added long positions of 190 contract. They have reduced short positions around 240 contract. Their long exposure remains around 19%. And on the short side, they remain heavily shorted, and that short exposure remains around 81%. So there is almost no action as far as the F&O data is concerned. And that was the reason, if you look at the volatility index, that was also just like it saw like minor fall. Now coming to the options data, 26,300 calls in maximum addition. There was addition of almost 1 crore shares, 26,200 call also seen a healthy addition. Addition was 76 lakh shares. On the put side, 26,150 saw maximum addition. So now the range has moved slightly higher, 26,150 to 26,400. So first support for Nifty, 26,100. Next support comes around 20-day moving average of 25,900. Resistance remains the same, 26,310. For Nifty Bank, support would be 59,000. Resistance would be 59,900, or say 60,000. That's the record high. One stock remains in the bank, that is Sammaan Capital. Some of the stocks, NMDC has been seeing fresh longs. Another stock from Autopay, Ashok Leyland, has been seeing fresh longs, and 2 stocks that are seeing fresh shorts are Indigo and Max Health.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Darshan. But let's move on to a CNBC TV 18 exclusive. Telecom Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia has said that the government is awaiting a formal request from Vodafone Idea seeking AGR relief. When asked about Bharti Airtel, Scindia clarified that any other company seeking AGR relief must approach the top court. He also asserted that there will not be any pause to the new SIM binding rules, which makes a SIM card mandatory to access apps like WhatsApp, Telegram, among others. Listen in.
Ask you about the big development that has come from the Supreme Court, with the court saying that the government can go ahead and reassess all of the AGR dues of Vodafone Idea. Having said that, what next is the government planning to do? What are the options?
So, post that judgment, which is what is being examined within the department today, we are also waiting the formal request from Vodafone. Once that does come through and we complete our evaluation internally, we will then put forward our recommendation of what can be done and what cannot be done.
Bharti Airtel has also requested the government for reassessment of all AGR dues. Are you considering the same?
Well, no official request has come to me as of now. In the event that they would pursue that, again, that is something that the court of the land will have to decide.
When it comes to waiving off or reducing the AGR dues for Vodafone Idea, would this be specific to one company, or whatever kind of resolution that you come forward with, relief package that you come up with, it will be for everyone?
The Supreme Court judgment is qua Vodafone India. So whatever we come up with has to be qua Vodafone India. We cannot cross the border of the Supreme Court judgment.
So you feel that the question of parity for the whole industry doesn't arise here?
As I mentioned, the Supreme Court has made a verdict on Vodafone India, and that's what is on our table today.
So very simply put, any company which wants similar relief, they will have to approach the Supreme Court.
Absolutely.
This is with regard to the SIM binding initiative that you've just launched. And this is for all messaging apps such as WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal. All of them have to comply with the SIM binding norms within 90 days. Why has this been done? And what is the larger intention? Because the industry is saying that there should be a pause on this for some time to allow for wider consultation.
In the last fiscal alone, people across the length and breadth of our country have lost close to 22,800 crores to cyber fraud. It is my responsibility as telecom minister to protect my consumers. And this indeed is a step towards that. As far as consultation is concerned, we've had 5 to 6 rounds of consultation, starting in early April into June, latest even close to November. Across the board, there has been a clarion call for this.
The next question, there are reports coming in that the Telecom Ministry has asked private mobile phone makers to preload a government-owned cybersecurity app before selling phones. Now, this is for the security of customers all around the country. Has that been done? Have the directions been issued? And what exactly is the expectation?
So all of this ties in with the security of the customers. So Sanchar Sathi portal and the Sanchar Sathi app has done a yeoman service. And let me say this on television with you, and let me thank our consumers also, because the success of this could not have been possible unless there was a Jan Bhagidari approach. And it is due to that Jan Bhagidari approach that we've been able to protect our consumers. This is a step in that very direction. If you're able to load this on, then if I lose my phone, immediately that app is on my phone, which I can then register and make sure that my phone is not used by any fraudulent individual. It's a step to protect the consumers at the end result.
Okay, interesting chat there. But on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break. Up next, we'll get you the updates from the White House in a special segment, Front Watch. Welcome back to Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. And in the US market update that we have, Wall Street ended Monday's trading session lower as cryptocurrencies saw a fall. Now, Dow ended with losses of more than 400 points, while S&P 500 fell nearly 40 points. The tech-heavy Nasdaq index shed almost 90 points as well. Let's go across to CNBC's Christina Patson-Nevlos to get us a wrap on what happened on Wall Street.
U.S. markets are down across the major indices in Monday trading as falling crypto prices really put downward pressure on Wall Street. The Dow fell 427 points, the S&P 500 lost 36, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq was down about 90, which really equates to about 0.4%. Bitcoin fell more than 6% during the trading day on Monday, falling below $85,000. Last month, it actually fell below $90,000 for the first time since April and has really struggled to rebound back. Ether, Solana also fell sharply Monday, down roughly 10%. Crypto-related stocks, including Strategy, Coinbase, also falling. The slide in cryptocurrency really coincides with a broader risk-off sentiment in the markets amid concerns of just an AI bubble right now. And Eli Lilly announced Monday that it's lowering the price on single-dose vials of its blockbuster weight loss drug, Zepbound. The discounts will be available on Lilly's direct-to-consumer website, with a dose starting as low as $2.99 a month, down from $349. Zepbound has a list price of roughly more than $1,000 a month, so a significant barrier to many, many patients. The announcement comes weeks after President Trump breached deals with Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk to make GLP-1 drugs more affordable. That's what's happening here in the United States. Back to you in Mumbai.
Thanks so much for that. Now, staying with the U.S. market, let's also listen into Ruchir Sharma, the chairman of Rockefeller International, who says that we are currently experiencing a once-in-a-generation opportunity to buy quality stocks in the global markets. Hear him why he's saying this and his explanation.
As you know, that we're in the midst of big sort of AI rollout and spend, and people are searching out for new technologies. So therefore, unprofitable tech is up 70% over the last 12 months. And so I think that we have seen a lot of low quality stuff do well in this environment. And that typically happens in the late stages of a bull market often, that you get a lot of low quality stuff that does well. And quality is something which steadily outperforms over time. And it's very interesting that some of the quality stocks also include, some of the Magnificent Seven names. In fact, 5 of the 7 Magnificent Seven names make the quality cut. Despite that, quality has underperformed over the last 12 months. And if you strip out some of these very expensive quality stocks, I think that, you can end up doing quite well. So I think it's the market's obsessive focus with AI and willing to pay up for unprofitable companies in this environment that you've seen quality, the traditional quality companies do poorly. And as you know, the market's breadth has also been a bit poor compared to what it should be in a standard bull market.
Okay, now let's move on and get you the latest update related to Trump developments. And let's start with the first one. United States has confirmed a trade deal with South Korea. Commerce Secretary Lutnick says that the general tariff rate on imports for South Korea, including on autos, would drop to 15% retroactive to 1st November because South Korea has introduced legislations in the parliament to implement the country's strategic U.S. investment commitments. Now, in other important developments that have come in, UK and the U.S. have agreed a deal to keep tariffs on UK pharmaceutical shipments into America at 0. Now, under the agreement, the UK will pay more for medicine, though, and this will be through the NHS in return for a guarantee that US import taxes on pharmaceutical made in UK will remain at 0 for a period of 3 years. Moving on to some more updates, and this is actually from Russia-Ukraine peace front. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has described territorial issues as the most difficult aspect of negotiations. Now, meanwhile, Trump administration expressed optimism about ongoing peace talks with the White House press secretary, Caroline, saying that and citing constructive discussions with Ukrainian officials in Florida. Let's listen in.
I think the administration feels very optimistic. Obviously, you've seen, Steve, that the president's entire team, including Special Envoy Witkoff and Secretary Rubio and the vice president and the president himself, Secretary Hegseth as well, have been working so hard on this effort, and they all really want to see this war come to an end.
Meanwhile, according to CNN, U.S. officials are now heading to Russia. Kushner, who's the President Trump's son-in-law, as well as Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, were and are traveling to Moscow following high-level U.S.-Ukrainian meet that they had over the weekend as well. Now, Witkoff is scheduled to meet the Russian President Vladimir Putin sometime today as a part of an effort to advance the peace process talks that are going on with Russia and Ukraine. And finally, in the last update that we have, US President Donald Trump took to Truth Social and highlighting his administration's satisfaction with the recent developments in Syria. He credited the easing of strong sanctions as a key factor in Syria's progress, stating that the move was truly appreciated by Syria's leadership and people. He emphasized that the importance of Israel maintaining a strong dialogue with Syria, calling it a historic opportunity for peace in the Middle East. Now, that's all we have in today's edition of Trump Watch. We'll be back with more tomorrow. And on that note, we're actually going to slip into a very short break as well. On the other side, we'll talk about cues from the world of commodities. Stay tuned in for that. Welcome back to Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Now, India's industrial output rose less than 1% in October, registering a sharp drop from 4% in the month of September. This data came in yesterday post-market hours. Now, the government has attributed the slowdown to fewer working days during the last month. This was mainly due to Diwali as well as Dussehra. Mining output fell by over 1%, while the manufacturing rose nearly 2%. Electricity generation, that dropped nearly 7%, largely because of the lower demand due to extended rainfall and cooler temperatures across the country. So that's the update that's come in on the IIP front. But let's move on and go across to Manisha, who's here to tell us what are we keeping an eye out on today in the world of commodities. Good morning, Manisha.
Morning, Vinny, and thank you for that. I'll start with the gold prices, which are trading at around 6-week highs. We've come off the kind of highs that we were trading in the markets yesterday, but with the U.S. interest rate cut in December working at an 87% probability, you will continue to see support in many of these tangible commodities. Also, given the fact that the dollar index has now slipped to a 2-week low, the U.S. manufacturing has shrunk for the 9th month, there is a lot of support that you will continue to see for precious metal prices. For the day right now, after the kind of run-up that we have seen, there is some profit-taking, though, in gold and in silver as well, which hit 58.81 yesterday, is trading at around 56.5 right now. So a couple of dollars has been knocked off in case of silver as well in the overnight markets. What is holding firm is the crude oil prices after the Ukraine attacks over the weekend, damaging a mooring at the Caspian Pipeline Consortium, and then the rising tensions between U.S. and Venezuela seem to be supportive as well.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Manisha. We'll keep an eye out on the crude prices going forward as well. But with that, we're absolutely out of time on this edition of Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18, with the Nifty implied open as of now indicating a very muted start with a negative bias for the Indian market. Don't go anywhere. Bazaar Morning Call is now up next for you all.